I'm not live yet. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda, I'll wait for you to tell me if I'm on. Okay. Okay, so we're back on. So I got to what Chazal speak about a Beis HaKisei. The Gemara says, Ezeu Ashir Kol Sheyesh Loi Beis HaKisei Samach L'Shulchanai. In Pirkei Avos, it says, Ezeu Ashir HaSameach B'Chelkai. But the Gemara in Shabbos Daf Chavhei Amud Beis says, one of the Amoraim says, Kol Sheyesh Loi Beis HaKisei Samach L'Shulchanai, which actually is referring to the old times where they didn't have, like we have today, bathrooms. They had an outhouse. So an act of a luxury was if you had a outhouse samach l'shulchanai. Why was that? Or the Gemara Bab Metzia Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph says, Baruch ato b'tzeisecha. Blessed are you, b'tzeisecha. What does that mean, b'tzeisecha? So there's different interpretations. One of the interpretations is Sheyehei Beis HaKisei Samuch L'Shulchanai. Another way is you will be blessed if you have a bathroom Samuch L'Shulchanai. So I'm going to tell you a Chassidish pshat first, and then we'll talk a little halacha. A Chassidish pshat is that a person always had, as we spoke about, Haitzah Zvalim, getting rid of the garbage, a person has to stay clean. So the Chassidish pshat is brought, a person always has to have a place where he has to know, he has to get rid of was pasnish. He has to have a Beis HaKisei Samach L'Shulchanai, either it's the Taivas Achila or all Shmutz. He has to have something accessible, something ready. No, he has to get rid of it. But you can take it in Gashmias also. If you have, let's talk practice. I can't say it's a clear-cut halacha, but if you're Baruch Hashem HaMishpacha, which is Mevorechas B'banim U'B'banos, it wouldn't. Maybe the halacha, maybe Torah is telling you it's not the smartest thing that you have a large family with one bathroom. You should have. It is actually a bracha to have Beis HaKisei. Now let's talk about what halachic issues come about, and I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of what are the discussions that you see that halacha discusses in the bathroom. You have to know that the bathroom of the old and the bathroom of today are different. Obviously, because of today's bathrooms are much more clean of the old bathrooms. So if you're going to learn Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Aruch talks about the shmutz, if you're allowed to speak divrei Torah, and if you're allowed to hear hurim, hear Torah. A lot of the Achronim discuss if it applies today, because let's be realistic. Today, when you flush the toilet, the schmutz is not here anymore. And back then, everything the outhouse had held the schmutz right there, so it was schmutzig, it was dirty, and it was not covered. It was pushing a Beis HaKisei of the old had a much more disgusting halachic din than today's time. So there's a lot of discussion if today's Beis HaKisei has the same application in halacha of the olden time Beis HaKisei. So when you're going to learn the halachas, sai mitzad, washing the hands in the Beis HaKisei, sai mitzad, hirhurim, hiru divrei Torah, if how bad it is if somebody actually brought in food by mistake in today's bathroom. Or, for example, it's best, obviously, not to bring in food, even in our bathroom. A lot of people have cabinets where they keep medicine. So, if you're not keeping food, wouldn't medicine be a problem? People take pills, people take vitamins. Should you suggest not to keep them in the bathroom too? I'm sure best would be not to keep them in the bathroom also. But being that you're saying that today's bathrooms are anyways not the merchutz, the base kisei of the old, there's much more wiggle room than, remember, it's not the base akisei, the shmutzike base akisei, and the dirt and the bizayin of the old. Another thing that I'm going to touch upon, again, I'm not paskening me on the money, I'm just telling you vaseretz charum. That in Shulchan Aruch, we're going to mention that in Shulchan Aruch is going to discuss, just like there is a discussion how the layout of a bedroom should be, mitzad the kivun towards the Beis HaMikdash, the same discussion, or actually as the discussion is of a Beis HaKisei, it shouldn't be disrespectful bechuvan against the Beis HaMikdash. The same thing is in the bedroom. It shouldn't be disrespectful against the Beis HaMikdash. But because that in the olden times it wasn't in a closed up room, the olden times the Beis HaMerchetz, the Beis HaKisei was dilapidated, it wasn't so closed in like we have our bathrooms today. Almost looks, you can find a bathroom today, marble, beautiful looking. So today's days, a lot of these shilas, a lot of these discussions don't apply anymore because they're closed in, they're boxed in, they're not disrespectful when it's, even if it's facing direction towards Mechuvin, towards towards Eretz Yisrael and towards the Makom HaMikdash. That's how the Achronim discuss this halach. That is the bathroom. Let's go to the bedroom. I'm going to quote you the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. We all know that in Hilchos Hashkamas HaBoker, the first 4 simanim in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, you look in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, it's written twice. There's Madura Kama and there is Madura Basra. There is, in Madura Kama, there is a discussion about the layout of the beds in a bedroom. In Madura Basra, somehow the Alter Rebbe does not discuss this. Uvachein, what's common brought, what I see the most the Rabbanim say is it looks like, since the Alter Rebbe did not bring this in Madura Basra, and in Siddur he does not discuss the issue of the layout of the beds, it's mashma that the hakpada is not there anymore. But I still want to bring it up. And that is in Madura Kama, Simin Gimel, Seif Tes. The Alter Rebbe says like this: Kishem she'asur lifnois bein mizrach lemayriv, just like it is prohibited to excuse yourself bein mizrach lemayriv because it's disrespectful. This is all based on a Gemara. Let me give you a shtickle background to this conversation. The background to this conversation is there is a Gemara in Masechta Brachos. The Gemara says, Abba Binyamin Omer, Al Shnei Dvarim Hayisi Mitzstar Kol Yomai. Abba Binyamin says, Masechta Brachos Daf Hey, 2 things bugged me all my life. Al Tfilasi Shetehei Lifnei Mitasi, Va'al Mitasi Shetei nisuna bein tzofin l'dorim. What does that mean? Abba Binyamin said, two things bothered me. First of all, the first thing that bothered me, Shetei tfilasi lifnei mitasi, that my davening should be right by my bed. Meaning to say, that I'm saying it in our language, Chas v'sholom, I'm not talking Abba Binyamin. I'm talking about my language. Ich soll sich nicht auskratzen the davening. I shouldn't wake up and then daven 3 hours later. Right after davening, right after wake up, gleich zum davening. Number one. That was something I wanted to accomplish in my life, always. Number one. And number two, I wanted to accomplish that my room, my bedroom, the bed should always be bein tzofin l'dorim. That was from north to south. Not the facing of the bed should not be east-west. The facing of the bed should be north to south. Now, pay attention to the words of Abba Binyamin. He did not say it's prohibited, it's usher. He says this is something I worked on myself. So, the Taz in Siman Gimel says, now, concerning going to the bathroom, the Gemara says a person should try not to go to the bathroom. Back then, people were out in the field. They just found a place and they walked to the side, and they would just excuse themselves. So when they would excuse themselves on the side of the road somewhere, try not to face the direction which is facing Eretz Yisrael, facing Yerushalayim, facing the Beis Hamikdash. So over there it says, when you're doing that, don't be mechavein towards Eretz Yisrael. I understand. Mitzad kavod hamikdash, mitzad kavod hashchina, don't do it. However, when you are in a room, in a boxed room, you're anyways being blocked off. So if you're in a closed room, like today's days in a bedroom or in a bathroom, you're being separated. There is no lack of kavod by facing that direction. Now, so this is the discussion. There is actually the Ramban says something very, very. The Ramban says, "Sarich ani la'orer ala gadazu yaduahu she'ein peti v'loy sechel ba'olam." There is no fool in the world that will think that because the beds are facing a certain way, oh wow, that's a skula for certain thing. And because you're facing the wrong way, that's terrible. It's more symbolic. This is in one of the Igros Kodesh in the Ramban. And the Ramban just saying it's more of it's Nishkan Isser, and the Maharal MiPrague says this. So this is a discussion, again, based on the Gemara of Abba Binyamin and the Ramban. And now let's see how the Alter Rebbe comes to a maskana. So the Alter Rebbe says, just like there's the issue of excusing yourself by Mizrach HaMayriv, kach aser lisham by Mizrach HaMayriv. Now, Alter Rebbe uses the word aser. It's also prohibited to sleep facing Mizrach HaMayriv in Ishta Imoy. If your wife is with you, then it's disrespectful. If she's with you, b'mita, v'daitay l'shamesh, and you're going to live together, Ella, yechavein shetei roisha mita, umargeleisah zel etzofim v'zel edorim. You should try to make that the bed should be facing north-south. V'nachain lezoher, and it's best, afilu me'enish ta'imoi. It's best, even if your wife is not with you, and you're not going to live together, even then, have your beds facing north-south. Says the Alter Rebbe Sif Yud, Mi she'i efshalei bekalis lahasav mitasei bein sofin l'darim. Somebody, maybe the setup of the room can't have it that way. Don't have to break walls. Ain't all of iser l'shamish mitasei be'mizrach l'mayrev. He doesn't have to change anything. He could live together with his wife. The yesh lismech al sefer hazoyar. He could rely on what the Zohar says. Shematzrich sheyehei dafke roisha mito margele says zel mizrach v'zel mayrev. So the Alter Rebbe brings both opinions, and the bottom line is this whole discussion. The Alter Rebbe doesn't even bring in Madura Basra, and this whole discussion the Alter Rebbe doesn't even bring in Piskei HaSiddur. So therefore, if you have your choice, if your setup in your room is good, that you have your choice, bein mizrach l'mayrev or bein tzafon l'darim, it most probably is preferable that you should do a bein tzafon l'darim. If you don't have your choice, then you could do it. You do it bein tzafon. Then you do it bein tzafon l'darim. Next, that is the bedroom. Let's go weiter. We have some more time. Let's go weiter. Some people want to do renovation. When you want to do renovation, we have some issues. We have some issues with inyanim of Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid. There is different inyanim of tzavos Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid. Now we all know that in tzavos Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, from one hand, Chamira Sakanta Miyusura, we don't play games with, and in some places, the Rebbe was very, very, very makbid about them. Lamashul, Upshonish and Rosh Chodesh. There's some places we really are very makbid. Some places we say it doesn't apply anymore. If you want to have a good write-up about it, you look in the Hakdama on the set of Svarim Shmiras Hagufa Nefesh. But an interesting one is, if you're going to do a renovation, and many people have windows and doors they want to replace, they want to change the setup of different rooms and different setups. So the Tzavas Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid Ois Chaf says that you should not block a window or a door. You should not close up a window or a door. Now, usually, when Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid says something, you don't ask questions because it's very spooky. And when he says it, he says Shelo Yaziku HaShedim. It's a spooky thing that the Shedim we shouldn't harm, because the Shedim, they are like robots. They find their path, and they can't change their path. And it's based on the Gemara. There is a Gemara in Chulin Daf Kuf Hey Amud Beis. The Gemara says that there is a Gemara that says there was a shade that was under a certain barrel, and the only way he was able to get out of that out is he had to break the barrel to creep out. And there's actually madrashim that also say the same thing about the malach with the malach and the malach with Bilam and the asin and the donkey. The reason why they got into this fight is because the donkey, when he saw the malach, they are very robotic. They can't change their routine. So Shadim cannot change their routine. If certain openings were open for them, you must keep that open. I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you what I see Svarim explain what Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid says. If there was a certain opening available for them, it should not be shut down. So now what happens to different windows and different doors that were open? And Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid says this. So you don't play games. So there are different ways around it. One of the ways is that unless you leave a little thing open. Leave some of it open. There is actually, it's brought in the name of, brought in a sefer that they found in the house of the Tzemach Tzedek. In the house of the Tzemach Tzedek, that they covered up a window or a door somewhere, and they left a part of it with the hole, and they covered that hole. They covered that hole. First, even though you left a hole, that hole could be covered. You first have to make a hole, but then that hole could be covered. In other words, you have to give them a shtickle, and there's actually, in the Svarim, they even bring a raya from a Halacha and Shulchan Aruch. Halacha and Shulchan Aruch, Cheshem Mishpat Siman Kuf Ayin Beis If Zayin, that says, Bayis Sasum Yesh Loi Dalad Amis. Parutz doesn't have a Dalad Amis. Bayis Sasum means if you shut the house, it still has a din of Dalad Amis. If you take it apart, dismantle it, it doesn't have any. In other words, you can't change it over. The bottom line is, if you want to see a little more about this, if you look in Yagdil Torah Siman Kuf Lamed Zayin, they bring also that the Frierdiker Rebbe also said if you make a hole in that clothing, the smallest amount of hole, it's fine also. So if you're doing any sort of renovation and you're closing any windows, you're closing any doors, just make a little opening. It shouldn't completely shut it off, and you won't have any chashash of this tzavos Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. We all know the tzavos Rabbi Yehuda Chassid about cutting down trees. That's the parsha for itself. You know, the tzavos Rabbi Yehuda Chassid about having a mikveh in your house. So there's a big discussion about that too. If today's mikveh is the mikveh of the old, because today's mikveh is already fancy. Today's mikveh is not the merchats of. We have fancy schmancy stuff. Again, that's a parsha for itself. If anybody would like to read up about that, there is a Pedic. It's very short and sweet. That is in Shmiras Hagufa Nefesh Siman Reish Chaf Aleph. He explains that very nicely. But I do want to be Messiah with what I started.